sign in here. Just name and phone number. In case we have a contract. Name, rank, and serial number. And there's a piece of paper you can check out. That's pretty easy. Just part of the old safety protocol we got to do. Hello, sir. Do you mind signing in?
No way. No, it's just no.
You're hoping for like a top 10 finish?
Probably not. Like, we'll take whatever we can get.
Yeah, you're okay. It's an experience for the girls, right?
Exactly. Not a problem.
We turn it all off? Is that too dark for you?
Right where it is good.
Okay.
Right where it is good. This is better than it was last time. Like, I know last time it was way too light for people to actually see, and it was hard for people to see here as well. As long as you guys don't go too wide with it, we're good. Right? Like, as long as Bowman doesn't start walking out this way and come back around, like, as long as you stay. Oh, for crying out loud.
Hello. Come on over here and do a little sign if you don't mind. Anybody sheet. Ladies, hi.
Hey, how are you?
You guys are kidding.
Thank you. We're ready to go. Yeah.
Little sign in over here. Sign in, please. One of these sheets of work. Sound good? Yes. Thank you.
Feeling very waterproof.
I feel very resistant to precipitation.
You have to ask me a question.
Yes. And it's kind of a professional question, but with the VP announcement, I'm looking at the way these things are going in a way that I'm comfortable with it. Am I out of place to say, hey, I wouldn't mind being in this department here for 5 minutes? Is that okay? Because like, I know I only teach one class in there, and it might like, but I can look at the things that, even just the things that I do today, and be like, it'd be nice to have a walk around. Yeah.
In fact, this is one of the things we want to do.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the criteria for department heads that got put out last year?
No.
So a whole new thing, a whole new criteria got put out.
Yeah.
And there's no discussion about it. So it's just a document.
Yeah.
But I'll get it to you. So you can see. It's quite nice. Most people, if they read it, would not want to if you didn't see it.
Going full well as a parent myself, that you have a full slate of things going on this evening as well for families. Just for everybody here, we have students and our staff come from about 14 different municipalities around the metro area. And we're cognizant of that too. So if we're going to get a chance to get parents here live and in person, it's generally earlier rather than later. Because as soon as you get home, you touch home safe, it's harder. Right? It's just, there's just so many things that are pulling us away. Good evening. We've got a lot of people here that are also having a look in on live stream. Just before I started tonight, everything that we'll do with you, everything that we'll show and share is actually already posted. So if you have the need, you feel the need, and I do, I just write things down when I'm in presentations, when I'm hearing things. It helps me focus. But if you're one of those individuals that are worried about taking a photo of something, fear not. We will send out the links as well at further time, but if you are, it's already posted. Our presentation for tonight's already posted. Under programs, 22, 23 course selection. In fact, everything that you and your son and daughter is going to need to look at course selection materials is already posted. So tonight's presentation posted. We also have our course selection booklet that will reference, our junior course selection booklet that will reference, as well as the course selection forms. You've got the worksheet in front of you right now. That's the place where we're going to kind of play a bit tonight. And then we have some really just good value add kind of pieces that are there for students and families to look at. Just frequently asked questions, course selection resources on our website. That are put available by Mr. Sanders and Mr. Coleman and Mr. Witt. We'll talk about them and introduce those people in just a second. But just a lot of information that's there. Before I start, my name is Steve Garland. I am absolutely blessed and honored to be the principal at STMC. And before we go any further tonight, if you could just join me in prayer, we'll go from there. Your Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Amen. Lord, we thank you for the life of blessed Ed Rice. We open his heart to Christ, present and those oppressed by poverty and injustice. May we follow his example of faith and generosity. Grant us the courage and compassion of blessed Ed, O Lord, as we seek to live lives of love and service. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. St. Thomas More, blessed Ed Rice, that Jesus in our hearts. Thank you so much, folks. Before I start, though, can I have a quick show? How many of you are alumni of our school? Awesome. Thank you. Fantastic. That is great. I've introduced myself, but I do want to take a quick second to introduce a couple of key people here this evening as well. Mr. Joe Adams, our senior school vice principal, and Joe has been the junior school vice principal and has worked with families that are transitioning their sons and daughters from grade 7 to grade 8. And a wonderful resource We also have two gentlemen that introduced themselves to you this evening and welcome you into the room tonight, Mr. Hank Bowman, as well as Mr. John Spanders. And between the four of us, and Joe and I only take 25 years of this up, between the four of us, we probably represent somewhere in the area of about 120 years of experience here at school. But remember, Joe and I only take about 25 years of time. So you've got a lot of know-how. And in fact, those of you that are alum, well, we saw some familiar faces when you walked in tonight. So welcome. And for those of you on the other side of the screen, taking it home, welcome. I would be remiss also. We don't get things done here without a cast of thousands of being able to lend and help and support. And Mr. Brown, Mr. Winston Brown, who's back there right now, these are absolute tech wizards. And
volume for you.
How's that?
Can't hear anything.
Winston has got us on live stream and has got us hooked up with people sitting at home tonight. So I want to thank him for that as well. I will take a few seconds if you just bear with me here. I'm going to switch out. So everything available tonight is already posted. We'll bring you back there. If you have the need that you want to write stuff down, please do. Please do. I know it's helpful for you when I get that done. All right. Our hope is that we probably will need, I kid you not, about 25 to 30 minutes of time with you this evening, and then we've got time for questions and answers. Because the reality is, and if you're not a newbie, if this is your first child coming to grade 8, can I have a quick show of hands? Hey, lots of you. If you're a returning veteran, you know there's not a lot of choice for grade 8 in terms of course selection. We kind of joke a little bit about it in terms of their course selections, but most of their courses are already selected for them. The core academics, we'll talk about where some exceptions are for French and for math, but the core of their courses are already there. The core of their courses are already there. Really tonight is to look at what do French and math look like for a small number of our kids, and then really what do course electives look like for your sons and daughters, the choices that they'll make into their elective options. So I've already kind of introduced our team that are going to be speaking this evening. But we have a couple of big pieces. Obviously, our welcomes and intros, we're past that one. We're going to take a few minutes to jump into our course selection materials. And then we want to talk about our Summer Jumpstart program as well. And it's one that kind of started with Mr. Bowman and others. It has an over 25-year tradition now. And we are, in the last 3 or 4 years, even during COVID, the last 2 years, bursting at the seams in terms of the number of people that are looking at their sons and daughters joining that group in the first 2 weeks of July. And we'll talk about that a bit. And it's optional, it's not required, but a good chunk of our students coming in go into that one. So we've talked about our 140 years of experience, 120 odd years of experience. I want you to look at this next picture, but look really quickly and then look away. And it is, that's a graduating class that graduated a few years ago. Your sons and daughters would be the graduating class of 2027. If you are a newbie, and our own seasoned vets around the room will tell you that 5 years with us is going to fly by. And it's going to go back really, really quickly. So we want our students to think ahead, but not too far ahead. There's just so much to do. We kind of look at our grade 8s and then what we hope for our grads on the other side. If you have ever seen a Swiss Army knife that looks like the one on the right, give me a shout, because I haven't yet. But what we want, we obviously have kids that are coming in with some significant skill, that have got areas and interests and passions. But we're hoping the next 5 years with us just kind of add to those skill sets, the experiences that they have, give them opportunities to think of a world beyond STMC. And I know they're just coming in, but it's not going to be too long before we need them to start thinking about life beyond STMC. School, work, areas of interest and passions that they have. I did say that the journey, though, begins in grade 8, and really the choice is limited. And if you'll just take a few minutes with me right now, all of our students take Career Education 8. It's outside of the timetable. We run an academic schedule, assembly schedule every 2 weeks, and they will have a focused curriculum at the grade 8 level. towards really more about setting goals, priorities, trying to establish where they're at, particularly kind of doing a gut check after term 1. And if they were like my daughter, Meg, who is now officially off the payroll, 23 in a couple of weeks' time, but she's off the payroll, and it feels so good. But she's also moved out, so that doesn't feel so good. But she had her dad as a teacher, and I was like, I'm here, but I'm stepping back a little bit. Get yourself organized. She had and she's a bright kid. She didn't work to the level that she was expecting, didn't get the marks to the level that she was expecting after term 1 in grade 8, and was really kind of gutted. And I said, do you need my help? I could step in and help and give you some thoughts and ideas. After term 1 of grade 8, never had to step in again. And it was one of those ones where she just needed that piece to get okay, here's a reality check, and we go from there. We try to work with our grade 8s to get those pieces done, to think about those things from day 1. About making sure that if they can take care of the small pieces, everything else takes care of itself. And it really does, if they can deal with the small pieces. Obviously, English Language Arts 8. I've got French and mathematics with an asterisk. And we'll come back to those two specifically, because we do have students that are coming to us from either early or late French immersion programs. And those students will likely, in all likelihood, not be in French 8. They'll be beyond French 8. And there will be an opportunity for those students to do a placement exam with our French department and go through an assessment to see what level they are most appropriately placed at. If I told you that there's some of your sons and daughters currently in grade 7 that are probably be going into French 11, that's probably a strong reality for students that have been early immersion students and have been in immersion since K. It's quite possible. If they're a late immersion student, it may be a little bit different. Might be maybe grade 9, possibly grade 10, depending on where the level they're at. We just want to make sure that we put them in the right level that's going to give them the best chance for success. Mathematics, and we'll talk about that one too. And there will be a placement test for those students that would like to challenge the grade 8 final exam. And I will say caution. We don't have a great number of our students at grade 8 that move into grade 9 math. And there's madness to method to that because we don't want any what we call Swiss cheese learning, where there's still gaps and it doesn't often show until grade 10 when the rigor really kind of goes, but they accelerated through an area and missed key concept along the way. So, but we typically have anywhere 10 to 14 students each year from our grade 8 class that will move on to grade 9 math or even possibly grade 9 math accelerated. It's possible. But we'd rather have kids be at the level at their age group and be able to progress from there because they'll all graduate on time at the same place. And when it comes down to it, on transcripts, when they finish with us in grade 12, accelerated or advanced does not go on a transcript. It's just the level of the course that they have. So more of that later on. Physical and health education 8, religion 8, obviously. Science 8, social studies 8, and then the 2 that we have in green. And that's where our kids have got some choice. So let's take a couple of seconds to go through the big options for our kids. And actually, apologies, I'll go back if I can one. They are really looking at our first option, either the 3 applied skill or fine arts options, or if they're a band or choir student and want to continue with band and choir, and we have an outstanding performing arts program here at our school, then they would select our band or choir option. But let's deal with the first ones, the applied skill fine arts options. We have roughly 4 courses, and our students will choose 3 or 4. The first one is drama. In terms of an option for classes, I truly recommend that for a lot of our kids. It's an option that kind of scares the bejesus out of some kids of walking in and performing in front of peers. They are so conscious about what they look like, how they sound. They don't want to look out of place in any way. But I've seen kids that are choir. You may have the same thing in your home. I've got one that is an extrovert to the nth degree. I have one that is an introvert to the other end, who, as a 21-year-old, would say, I wish I had taken drama. It's just she has the confidence now as a young woman going, geez, I wish I had done that, right? The reality is for our kids, they've still got time. You know, they're only in grade 8. There's still options along the way that they can jump into those ones. But it is one that we do recommend for our kids. All of our students that are in the drama, or if they don't choose drama, still can opt to try out, to audition for our school play or school musical. Okay. Next one we have is Visual Art 8. And again, I was covering a class this morning for a visual art teacher. I just had to pop on quickly. And it was a grade 8 class. And to see the quality of work that our kids were producing was phenomenal. And it gives those students, and I call it Zen time. It really, if you walk into the art room, it's almost like a bit of Zen. It's a really kind of quiet respite place for people to be and be able to work on that right side of their brain and develop it. And if they're more linear sequential and they're more left brain, challenge them, put them in there. It's that piece that helps develop things in so many different ways. That creative element, that side. I was chatting with one young lad today, and I said, did you think you were possibly able to do this? He said, I had no idea I could do this. And he was doing a collage, a collection of pieces that were creating a larger piece. It was just spectacular. He's got one more day to finish off because our term is finishing off at the end of this week. The next option for our students is a new area for us, materials engineering. And for years, we had Woodwork 8, Woodwork 9, and a small number of our students would take guitar building at the grade 10, 11, or 12 level. When our woodwork teacher retired at the end of last year, it's one of those pieces where we needed to expand beyond just one material. And we have got, you see Mr. Glenn Bow there right now. He is working with a student. They work in multiple materials: wood, plastics, metal, electronics, and really trying to get a sense of design. And it leads to courses in the grade 10, 11, and 12 area that are more towards engineering and applied engineering and materials designs. In our design thinking kind of area. Super popular with our kids right now, and as we're going through course selections for our senior kids, we've got a new grade 10 elective on the books for this year coming that is filling up real quickly. The next one is design and technology, more of our robotics end, and some of your kids are probably playing in the coding area, and this would be a place for them to get more developed, kind of deeper learning with. Not so much at the 8 level, but definitely as you move into 9, 10, 11, and 12, because it jumps into computer science, it jumps into more of the higher end robotics and robotic competition for our kids. But much like art, much like drama, much like materials engineering, it's all based on the design cycle and trying to take an idea from concept to draft design to test to another iteration of that, test it again, so they're trying to get it better each time they go through something. So that's the options if they're looking at applied science or fine arts. It's 3 of the 4 choices of those ones. We do our best to make sure that we can get them their first 2 choices for sure. It's a numbers game as well in terms of the number of bodies that we have at the grade 8 level. But I do want to talk about band and choir. We've had a spectacular band program here now for the better part of 15 odd years. It's if I need some time where I just need to kind of, I sit outside of the band and choir rooms because the doors are open usually, and just to hear, or I'll pop in. And it's to see talent like that. I don't know for parents, most of us probably didn't grow up with music lessons or anything of that nature. Probably most we got was choir, and it was probably as we were in mass. For those students that have had the option and the ability to have a musical instrument introduced to them, like my daughters have, and likely your sons and daughters, there's a great opportunity for them to continue that development in our bands. Our last big music night that we had was at Christmas. To hear our grade 8 band from the beginning and to have their first major concert, a huge development. And then you sit back and you listen to the senior band at 11 and 12 and you go, oh my gosh, this is how good they can get. It is an option. It is a year-long option. But I'll talk about how Mr. Loy and our band teacher actually split kids. So kids can do both band and choir, right? They will work with both sets of kids because it's in the same block, right? The next option for our kids is choir. And again, another kind of highlight area for our school. We had a board retreat here on Saturday, and our senior chamber choir had their retreat. They had a clinician come in, work with our and we have grade 8s that are on the senior chamber choir as well. It's audition. Probably a span of about 35 plus kids. And Mr. Loy said, if you guys are finishing soon, I'd love for them to come and present to the board, our board of governors. And they sang 3 tunes that they're about to do at an invitational festival later this week in North Vancouver. Again, just kind of blow you away with what they can create and the sounds that they create. So if our students are choosing the performing arts band or choir, that's all year. And it'll be worked out between the band and the choir teacher in terms of choir time, band time. And they've been working on this for a long, long time, so it's not new to them. So in terms of course selection, these are links. This will be emailed to you all. It'll be in your inbox tomorrow. Can I have a quick show? How many people had to go into their junk mail to open up the invitation for this evening? Yeah. That's one of the things that maybe it's a preference piece. It just is making sure it allows the emails coming in from the school. That's probably the case if it's happened. I've got a cousin whose son is with us next year, and it's the same thing. He says, I didn't get an email. I said, can you check your junk mail? He goes, it's right there. So if you do find that in any way, check. If you know from other parents going, did you see the email? And you go, what email? And if you checked your junk mail, it's not there, give us a shout at the school. We'll get it sorted for you. It's usually a Power School issue, our student information system, and the link of the emails that we have. We do need to get your choices for elective options before spring break. So really that's the big piece we need from families. And families can do it 2 ways. You can email Miss Caitlin Jensen, and Caitlin's email is right there. It'll be given to you, don't worry. It's on the slide presentation information. And you can just let her know the name of your son or daughter and the option of either the Applied Skill Fine Arts and the choices that you're looking at within those ones, like 1, 2, 3, 4 if we have to go into a 4th. Or if it's band or choir or band and choir as options there. Just let her know that one. The other one, and can I ask how many parents are already familiar with Power School? Fantastic. So the choices could be made directly into Power School. Same thing. Just if you have older sons and daughters here with us already, and it's really pretty slick the way that Mr. Olson's got it set up. But that's really what we need from you as families, and to have that kind of conversation with your sons and daughters before. I am going to address one thing here, and it's our junior course program guide has the descriptions to all the courses. So if your son or daughter still wants to find a little bit more, there'll be a description and a detailed description of the courses that are there for each of the options that they'll be looking at. Okay. Yes, sir, please. Sorry, thanks, Mr. Bowen.
Mr. Olson opened the parent portal for course selection just tonight, right? So if you want to get on, I know some of you were saying, I can't see it yet. It was just open today, okay? Yeah, it's open now. Yeah.
Okay. So just very briefly about the placement tests. And maybe a quick show. How many of you have a son or daughter in late or early immersion right now? Fantastic. I know that our Fatima families, primarily, and a number of our families from some of our local public schools as well that have gone through immersion as well. And Math 8, some of our kids and some of your kids right now are already working through the Math 8 program as grade 7s at their schools. They need to hit 86 or above to get the ability to move on to the next level. So they've got to be at a mastery level for us. And we do have kids like that. Every year we've got kids like that. The advantage doesn't show itself until like grade 11, grade 12. And then it really shows itself. We have current students that did this as grade 8s. that are in grade 11 right now are finishing up pre-calculus 12 this year as grade 11s. And then as grade 12s, they're looking at doing their calculus 12. Most of our students will do calculus 12 concurrently with pre-calculus 12. It's the norm almost everywhere. But if they're able to have that option of finishing that pre-calc in grade 11, it gives them a little bit more breadth of choice for courses in their grade 12 year. And if you have a son or daughter in grade 12 right now, or have had one go through, it's a stressful year. For helping them manage their course load, and to make sure that they can hit the mark with the grades that they need for post-secondary, super competitive to get into programs. It's one that it really does, it shows its advantages in the last year and a bit of our time with them here. If that's the case, on the back of the worksheet that you have right now is information about how to register for that placement test, how to register for that. If it's mathematics, it would be emailing Ms. Erica Cameron, who's our head of department for mathematics. If it's for French, it would be emailing Ms. Karen Ransom, who is our head of department for French. Both will entail your son or daughter being here on site on the 12th, the 10th or 12th, or both, depending on some students, to go through that assessment. And our French staff department will be there to go through the assessment for the kids in French, and members of our math team will have that already and sorted for kids for the mathematics challenge assessment. So I do want to, I'm going to say, if you have a question, probably now is probably a good time. We can do it at the end as well. And if you want to wait and do it afterwards, just specific for yourself, we'll stick around and we can answer that question too. Are there any general questions you have? Yes, sir? Yeah. So in Power School, it being clicked off, we got a system last year where we actually sent something out to families and said, if you're selecting the Applied Skill Foreign Arts section, then let's get 1, 2, 3, and also give us your 4th, because it may have to with the numbers that way. That's something that we'll have to fix on our end because it's not set up in Power School that way. Mr. Brown, you had something? Yes, thank you. The question was, how do we put the order of the selection of 1, 2, 3, and an alternative for the Applied Skill Fine Arts selection? Excellent question. If you're emailing it to Ms. Jensen, you can literally do 1, 2, 3, 4. Super easy that way. That's the clearest possible way. All right, thank you. Excellent question. Yes, sir. Excellent question. He has to make a choice. So the question was, can I do band and the Applied Skill Fine Arts? No. Yeah, it's one of those ones that they will have to make a choice. By grade 10 into grade 11 and 12, they will have options to be able to jump into the elective courses and the pathways that are there. But for the introductory kind of, and really, these courses are 25 classes long. They take 3 courses in the course of the year, and they take 1 course for a term. So it's really it's a survey. It's an introduction. When they have a bit more of a wider choice in grade 10, but definitely in grade 11 and 12, we see band students, choir students diversifying and going into a whole bunch of different ways. Okay, great question. Thank you. Yes, sir. Fantastic. That will be dealt with. So the question was if it was band, choir, or band and choir as an option to combine them both. Choose one of the other right now. And then when class starts in September, our teachers will also work with our kids because the classes are at the same block. And there might be some, it's the arrangement between the band choir and the band teacher and the choir teacher to what performance or piece that they're working on. They may need the band kids for one portion, and then the priority comes for some stuff that they're dealing with choir. But if you're emailing it, you could go band and choir option. And they'll get one of the 2 to start with, and then it will be working out with the teachers that are there. Anything from Mr. Spanders or Mr. Bowman on that one? Are you okay with that? Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Cognizant of time, also want to make sure that we can get you home as well. And as I said, we're happy to stick around and answer some questions. But I do want to pass it over to Mr. Bowman and talk about our Jumpstart program. And we are really hoping that we can have our live link on our website for registration right after spring break. So we're probably only 4 weeks away from that registration opening. Hank will talk about it in a second, but I would say once we send that out, and if it is something that your family is interested in, jump on it quick, because we end up with families that we're not able to accommodate after a period of time because we're full. But I'll let Hank talk about that one.
Yeah, if you're interested in the program, I do suggest you register early. That just allows us more time for planning and the like, and hopefully, we can decide how big we're going to go with the camp at that time. The dates, certainly, 4th to 15th, you can count on those dates. So if you're planning your family stuff, it will be the 4th to the 15th. The time is 9 to 2, and it could vary a little. The start time won't, but the finish time might. Depending on COVID, we usually try to do at least one off-campus trip, and we haven't been able to do that with COVID. So if we can, I'd love to do it. It's a good bonding experience. So those days it may go till 3 o'clock. But that will be those dates for sure, and those times give you a very good guide on what we will be doing. Okay. Just to tell you how the program works, we have a team of 3 to 4 teachers. Again, it depends, and that will be involved in providing some English instruction, some math instruction, some science, and then an overall kind of introduction to the school and to life as a secondary school student. That transition is a big one for a lot of kids, so that's a main focus, so that these young people feel comfortable when they come to the school. They will probably meet. Not just us 4 teachers. They'll meet. We're getting inundated with requests from senior students who want to help with the camp. So they'll meet students who are at the school or at the school next year that will help them with the transition to the camp. I've been involved with it. I hate to say it, but it's like about 30 years actually, and it has a long history. People seem to like it. Kids seem to like it. It is a good program, right? Yes, it is voluntary, but we do have pretty close to 90% of students coming to that. So I agree with Mr. Garland. The earlier you applied, and the earlier we can kind of nail down planning with how we're going to staff it and stuff like that, right? It really does help students prepare for that transition into a post-secondary or a secondary life, right? So hopefully that answers most of your questions. We do some science with them, like I say, math, stuff that they would see in high school. It's not really academically challenging, but we get a good feel for your sons and daughters and what their strengths and weaknesses are, which is also a major bonus to us as we transition for their arrival in September. Okay? Before I hand the mic over to Mr. Garland again, I am the senior. I deal most with the senior students, and Mr. Spanger's back there deals mostly with your sons in grade 8, 9, and 10, right? It is I just think, welcome you to the community, those of you who are new to the community. I think you've made a wonderful choice. It's kind of a weird time for me as an academic counselor, because while I'm doing course selection for next year here, I'm also kind of guiding the kids as the students as they are getting prepared to leave and go off to post-secondary schools. And every day I hear, I got accepted into here, I got accepted into there. So it's kind of a really fun time. And I think you've made a good choice. Our kids get into the schools that are good fits for them. And I think you're going to enjoy the ride. But it will go by quickly. It does go by quickly. Okay?
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Bowman. Just a quick pick of one of our classes. Ooh, they went past it. So navigating the next few months. They've still got work to do in grade 7. We know that. But we also know that they've got one head already here, but their foot somewhere else. We need them to stay somewhere else right now because they have to focus on that. We want them to finish off strong where they're at. And also enjoy that experience. It's a pretty special time for them as grade 7s. And leaving the schools that they're in. Right? So, and leaving well, leaving on great notes. Right? So, we do have our course selection deadline. So here's some key dates. Course selection deadline, we got our challenge tests or placement test dates that are there. We will be inviting, we hope, both yourselves and your son or daughter in to meet with us at the end of May. That's the first time that we'll get to see their bright, shiny faces live and in person. We have been, like everywhere, under COVID for the last 2 years. And I will say from a personal end, it's the hardest part is not being able to have parents into our school and our community. That's been really tough. We've been able to do that more this year, obviously. And as we get to a point where we go from pandemic to endemic, and then hopefully even fizzling out from that, that we get back to a sense of normalcy for what schools are for us. Having our parents here is a big part of what we do. Having our parents a part of our community is a big part of what we do. What you're going to hear from us on the 31st of May is that, yes, they're coming into grade 8, but this is not the time to let go. You just have to change, maybe, the role that you've got. We can play different roles here and keep pressures on them from an academic, social, emotional perspective. They need to be that soft landing for you when you get home. But they also need to know that you're still got a vested interest in where they are at school too. And I can say that as a parent, having had 2 kids go through high school. My wife and I have transitioned to different spots. We've given ourselves new titles. With a 23 and 21-year-old, we say we're now trusted advisors. So we've kind of transitioned from that part. And it's a really cool place to be too. I just don't wish it on you soon because this is pretty cool as well. Before I wrap up, Mr. Adams, is there anything you want to say? You're okay? Okay. I will talk briefly about uniform stuff, and all I can tell you is that it's TBD, to be determined. Not that we don't have a uniform, but we typically have a used uniform sale that families like to opt into towards the end of the year or at the end of the summer before we start back up. We also have information that we'll send out to families regarding uniform for next year. And we have our Cambridge Uniform is the company that we work with for our uniform supplies. I love this picture, and I've kept it in almost every year because the 2 bright smiley faces that you see there are now gentlemen in first-year university. But for me, it looks at what I love about schools, and high schools in particular, where you get to see kids coming in grade 8, and you get to see the people that they develop into when they leave us. And then the cool piece is that they keep coming back and letting us know how things are going for them. So both of those individuals, I think one's in pure sciences and the other one is in engineering, those 2 gentlemen now. And that's going to be your sons and daughters in 5 years' time. That's reality. That's where they're going. They are going to transition from us to another world beyond STMC. I think I've got one piece here, and then we'll leave it. We'll give you a list of key people to talk to if you have questions. Obviously, Mr. Bowman, Mr. Spangers, Mr. With, who's not with us tonight. She has been with our 2 previous course information evenings. Any question about any of the courses that they're taking or possible questions that you might have related to course selection. Ms. Cameron, for mathematics and the placement test, you can reach out to Ms. Cameron. She'd be happy to help you. What they typically do is also give students a bit of an outline of the topics and areas that students need to be more than proficient at. So it gives them a sense of, hey, should I be looking at this? Reality is 90+% of our kids are going to be doing Math 8, and they're placed incredibly well. We want them to develop on a slow burn and move on from it, not jump into something that might be over their head, and it's difficult to be able to be successful in to the level that they're used to being successful in, and that's a key thing to keep in mind. But there's no question with language. We want kids to be challenged at the language level that they're ready for now. And for kids that have gone through late or early immersion, French 8 will be a step back, not a step forward. Another individual that some of you will need to, and you've probably been reached out, if not already, they will be reaching out to you too, and you can reach out to them. If your son or daughter has a designated IEP, individualized education plan, it's working with Miss Borthistle and our LA team for the help and support that would happen for students in that area. I can tell you one of the things that separates us from most places. You know, if you look at Fraser Institute, take it for what it's worth, as a top 25 school in the Fraser Institute, we are the only school in the top 25 that has students that are both low incident and high incident special needs. We have students with learning challenges that are minor but need support with, to students that have significant neurodiversity. Nobody else can say the same. And I think that really fits our mission and mandate as a Blessed Mother Mary's Christian Brothers School, and something we're super proud of. So about 70 of our 694 students receive direct and indirect support through RLA. It's a busy place. It's a really busy place. And then lastly, and I make her name there because she's the most important person on this list, and that's Mrs. Cirillo. And for those of you that are smiling already and know Mrs. Cirillo, you know how special this woman is. If you phone our school, you're talking to Maria. If you have a question, you're talking to Maria. She will direct you. She will not misdirect you. She will direct you to the right person to ask the question that you have. And if she can't get it, she will get it for you, and she will come back with the answer for families. She is outstanding. So if you, along the journey over the next few months, have any questions, pick up the phone, 604-521-1801. That's Mrs. Cirillo. She's going to pick up the phone. She's an awesome person to talk to. I'm going to end off and say thank you so much, but I am going to say that I concur with Mr. Bowman. We work hard to select the families and students that we have. We had the biggest challenge we've had ever in our selection process this year. We had over 260 applications for students that were looking for admissions to STMC. We typically take about 140. So we have 120 plus families we know right now that we had to deliver some disappointing news to. And the hard part is even though we only got a glimpse of them from their applications, we know of that 120, there's some outstanding individuals that would be just great assets to our school and our community, themselves and their families. So we've worked hard to ensure that we could work with you to bring your son or daughter in here. It's a pleasure and honor for us to be able to spend the next 5 years with them, and we look forward to that when the time comes. But right now, we just want them to focus in on where they're at. So we'll leave you. You can head home. You can get to your dinner. The Canucks don't play. Oh, they do play tonight. They do play tonight. My wife will tell me because she's the one that knows that the game's on. If you're heading home, fantastic. If you have questions, email. We will email this entire presentation to you again. If you want to look at it again tonight, it's already on our course it's on the website under course selection 2022-23, and the grade 8 presentation. This one is already up there. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. God bless. If you have questions, we'll stick around and we'll answer for them. But thank you so much for coming out this evening. Thank you.